Yes, women should want to be professionals. Yes, women, but they should understand that being a professional and having a career is only one aspect of life.
Yeah.
There are many aspects of life we need to satisfy as human beings. We have the social, we have the career.
All right. Welcome to today's episode. I'm your host, Ferry. Today I'm with Taki. As always, the other guys not here. He gave up. He doesn't have faith anymore. Anyway, so now today's topic, Taki. I I was reading a book. I was helping my nephew read a book some time ago. The title of the book was The Little Mermaid. Ne? So I'm sure you're
Mm,
familiar with the story, The Little Mermaid.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I do not. Well, I mean, I'm familiar, but
yeah.
I do not know the story in detail. Yes.
Okay. Well, basically, what happens is the mermaid there. She sees this prince on a boat, and then she falls in love,
Okay.
and then she decides to go to. I want this guy again. So, but to be with this guy, she has to sacrifice being a mermaid. This means she has to lose her. What do they call it? The fish legs, the fish part. She has to
Mm,
lose
mm.
them so that she can walk on land to be with the guy. So
Okay.
she does that. She makes sacrifices. At the end, she gains legs and she's with the guy. Oh, and she sold her legs to some kind of a witch. Blah blah blah. That's the story. That's the classic version that we know. At least as
Mm,
90s kids went backwards. So, but this one that I was reading for my nephew, what happens was the mermaid falls in love, decides that I want to sacrifice my legs. And then after she does
mm.
sacrifice her legs, trades her fish legs with the witch, she goes on land and then the prince is not there, is gone. And then now she's stuck on land. She can't go back home. The prince is gone. The end. Like that was the end of the story. That's today's version. So
Okay.
it was shocking, even for my nephew who doesn't even know the classic. My nephew is like 6, 8 years old. He was also like,
Okay.
why such a bad ending? Like I also felt it out of nowhere. I don't understand. So I was like, the
Mm,
next generation of women will be raised different. Because now this thing is also in school much. They don't want the next generation of women to rely on men. At least that's how it seems. Like they don't want them to
yeah.
rely on men. I don't
Okay.
understand. Yeah, so that's the topic of today.
Mm,
Got a question is this the right way to raise the next generation of women? Should women be raised to not want men? Because basically that's what this book is saying. Like, hey, don't go looking for love. Focus on other things like maybe getting a job, blah blah blah. And you've seen even marriage is falling because of women working. Women are not getting pregnant as often as was in the past, and many people say it's due to them getting in the corporate world. So
mm.
I want you to say your piece on this matter about the next generation of women. Like, just say what you have to say, especially based on this book. What do you think about this, the ending of this book, as opposed to the classic one concerning women today in general? What's happening? Women getting in the corporate world. What consequences will this have, whether negative or positive, for the future? All right,
Mm.
you go first. You have 8 minutes.
All right. Okay. So you'll do the timekeeping for me because I'm not interested in looking at the stopwatch at the
All
current
right, all right.
moment. But
All
yeah,
right,
but
job, Pip.
but yeah, but the idea, Fetty, is that we cannot simply speak about women without speaking about men, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's almost impossible to do that. I'll tell you why it's almost impossible to do that, right?
All right.
Um, from creation, I mean, depending on what God you believe in, from creation, um, at least on the Christian side, there's a belief that the man was created first, and then
Yeah,
after some time, God saw a need, right?
yeah,
Uh, not just a want, but a need for a man to have a companion,
yeah,
someone suitable, someone complementary to him, right?
yeah,
Now, and also, if you look at life today revolves around a man and a woman falling in love, uh, or sometimes getting married, because some
yeah,
people do get married without falling in love. Arranged marriages, they still happen in some part of the world. But
yeah,
the idea is women and men coming together to basically reproduce the cycle of life.
yeah,
Um, now, a woman comes from the man, but also the man comes from the woman. In what way? The kids that are born today are given birth to by women. They come from the womb. No one
yeah,
who's alive today can say, "Hey, now I was born there out of God's hand without getting or without the woman becoming the person."
yeah,
So, what does that tell us about female and male relations? That is, we need each other. They are interdependent. In other
yeah,
words, the other one depends on the other for survival and for continuity.
yeah,
Now, let's get back to the Little Mermaid story we're talking about, right?
yeah,
I mean, back in the day, a simple Disney story was always had a good ending.
yeah.
I don't know who's that. The princess kisses the frog, and the frog turns into
A
a
guy, Prince.
prince, and they get married and they live happily ever
Yeah,
after.
classic Disney.
And they live happily ever after, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, classic Disney, yeah, classic Disney was like that.
yeah,
So, I mean, every story, at least story told to kids, was always with a happy ending.
yeah,
Uh, One component, I mean, as you become an adult, you become a cynic of those stories because I mean, unfortunately, life is that complex.
yeah,
But I often feel that it is not necessary to impose the dark realities of life early on onto kids
yeah,
because kids have a lot of hope about life. They have a lot of optimism about the future.
yeah,
So do not steal that away from them.
yeah,
I mean, if bad things happen, yes, let them happen, but do not condition their mind to believe that bad things are going to happen uh, whenever something good happens. Basically, things are going to be ruined anyway. That is a very dangerous mentality. In other words, instead of building optimistic kids, you are building pessimistic kids.
yeah,
And building pessimistic kids is that the problem with now is, especially on the sexual on the gender relations part, is you have a generation that gives up too easily on relationships or on love,
yeah,
in a sense, right? They give
mm,
up too easily on their careers. They give up too easily whenever things do not go their way because they lack the optimism that maybe we were exposed to or we had while we were still kids.
yeah,
So a little bit of optimism doesn't hurt the kid. It actually helps them work hard for the good stuff in life.
yeah,
But too much pessimistic television or media creates a notion that things are bad. Why bother trying anyway? I
yeah,
mean, if there were people who didn't have optimism, a lot of I would say records wouldn't have been broken when we are talking about, let's say, for example, sports. If there were a lot of inventions wouldn't have come up because people were optimistic about the future. So they
Yeah,
worked hard so that they make the future that they are seeing in their brains to be a reality. Now, on the issue of girls sing live um, in a pessimistic manner, is first of all, they will start being interested in men in general. Um, that will cause a lot of loneliness in men and even women themselves. But secondly, is you will have a situation whereby a lot of kids are born out of wedlock, meaning that you have no structure when these kids are born. The
yeah,
father is over there, the mother is over there. These people can't get married because each and every one of them is pulling in different directions. But for the sake of life continuing, well, here's a kid. Boo, it happened. And then they raise this particular kid. So you are creating disjointed families whereby the father is on that side and the woman is on the side. But much more detrimental, or I would call apocalyptic, is the mere fact that women will not give birth to kids any longer. A lot of women will start not giving birth to kids any longer in life. Population collapse is going to be a thing. A lot of developed, so now let's go back to the stats, or let's go back to what's happening in the world currently. A
okay,
lot of developed economies whereby the standard of living is very high, people there live longer, the human development index is higher, which is an index that measures the quality of life. Um, you find that most of these countries struggle with births because the women are working, the women are powerful, the women are rich, the women have their own businesses. They are busy with other things, their careers, whatever they are busy with, they do not have time for relationships. So
yeah,
what usually happens with that is that you have a world whereby women just date for fun. They date
yeah,
for fun, but they don't want to get pregnant. They try by all means. Either they do abortions, either they use contraceptives so that they avoid getting pregnant because it's going to be a hurdle in their career. It's going to stop them from progressing and all
yeah,
those kinds of things that getting pregnant and having a family and being a mother does. So that will result in population collapse, which means when you suffer from population collapse, it means then you have an economy that is highly dependent on a very few young people who are working to support the elderly. Remember, when you become older, you need someone else to take care of you, or you need someone else to continue working so that you still get benefits of of living basically,
yeah,
um because governments tend to spend a lot on the elderly and so forth, because now you have a developed economy, people are living longer, but they have to retire at some point at 65, at 60. Some people have to retire because they are now old, they can no
yeah,
longer be productive citizens.
yeah,
But those people cannot just continue living, but they will have to be supported. Now, you're going to have a problem when you're not having kids because no one will be keeping up that economy alive. No one, no one will be working, or you'll have very few workers who are trying to support a large group of older people. That brings issues. That is when most countries will now want to start inviting immigrants who can come through and help in terms of making sure that the economy stays oiled up, people continue working, paying their taxes, so that public goods and services can be provided not
yeah,
only to the general population but to the adult. So it has economic consequences, it has social consequences, it has a number of what you would call socio-economic consequences.
yeah,
The issue of raising a girl child to think that, or to think in a way that they don't necessarily need to engage with the other sex or have a relationship with the other sex or with men in general. So those are the issues that come up. Of course, you want the girl child to be educated. educated. You want the girl child to be educated because, or to be financially well, because you don't want them to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
But too much focus on that alone, then it kills the component of saying, well, where is society going if the man and the woman are pulling in different directions? Because that's basically what happens in such kinds of societies. So I think that's my piece, and then you can tell me your piece.
Okay, but I have just one question. So I understand you gave in full detail uh, the consequences. I understand you mentioned socio-economic consequences of this direction that we're taking. But my question is now, uh, do we blame women for putting career first above family life? Do we blame them? Can we blame them for that?
Can we blame who?
Like women, yeah, if they decide to, "Nah, I want a career, I want to put aside this child thing so that I can focus on my career, blah blah blah. I want to date for fun, I want to enjoy my life." Can we blame them for that? I know what their decisions have negative consequences, socioeconomic negative consequences, but can we blame them for wanting to live that life, wanting to be, I guess, in their opinion, they are free, they are empowered, they are
No, you
whatever.
cannot blame them. I mean, you cannot. Yeah, I mean, you cannot blame them. It is human nature to crave what other people have. I mean, think about it this way. Women didn't want these things until they saw how they made men powerful,
Yeah,
men have influence.
yeah,
Because in the past, these opportunities were only open to men,
yeah,
right? Only men were allowed to be CEOs, only men were allowed to CFOs. And this came with a lot of power, a lot of access, a lot of connections, a lot of influence.
yeah,
Now, it is human nature to crave what other people have. We cannot
yeah,
blame them to crave it, but it is bad indoctrination to tell everybody that they are suitable for such. In society, for example, it becomes a bad thing if it becomes a general trend.
yeah,
Let me put it that way, Fit.
yeah,
What I'm trying to say is when every girl wants to be a career woman, it's dangerous for society. There should be girls who want to be career women. It's fine. There are girls who will not be able to be mothers, who will not be able to be homemakers, who cannot for the for the for their life, who cannot be comfortable with a lifestyle whereby they are the homemaker, they take care of the home, and they stay with their husband, they do a simple job or a business there and there, but their main job is just house management. There are many women, there are women who cannot stand that kind of a life,
yeah,
and that's okay. But we should not encourage it as something that is normal to say, well, it's normal for women to just chase careers and not care about relationships. That is very dangerous because, like I said, it has a lot of consequences which are not good for society. Yes, women should want to be professionals. Yes, women, but they should understand that being a professional and having a career is only one aspect of life.
yeah,
There are many aspects of life we need to satisfy as human beings. We have the social, we have the career, we have the mental, we have the health wise, physical and so forth. So there are many aspects of a human being that need to be satisfied. Not only being a career woman, not only being a mother, not only being. So what I'm trying to say to you is the the message to kids should be saying, be a multifaceted human being. Try to make sure that in your life there is balance. We
yeah,
should not encourage this thing of saying just focus on your career and then see what happens. No. At the end of the day, this person will be rich. They'll be a CEO. They'll be a powerful human being, but they'll be lonely.
yeah.
I mean, you will have a group of others who are very successful, who have a lot of money, but they cannot buy. You cannot buy relationships. You
Yeah,
can buy occasional interactions, like prostitutes, like
yeah.
whomever, like casual stuff, but you cannot buy genuine relationships. So
Oh,
if we create such a group of we promote such behavior, we'll have such a lonely group of very rich and powerful women who are very frustrated,
yeah. So
socially frustrated, and
yeah, I'm glad that now you have turned this negative consequences towards the women. Now you are mentioning how this trend can affect them negatively, not just the
mm,
world. Yeah, so uh, you talked about how in the past job opportunities were mostly available to men. So my question is,
yeah.
there are a lot of people, especially men, who believe that the only reason why jobs were only available mostly to men was because only men had the physical capacity to do the work. Because apparently there was only manual labor and that women could not do these jobs. In fact, some people go as far as saying women didn't want these jobs because they were physical labor. They were hard to do. They only want jobs today because of technology. It has made it possible for women to work without lifting a finger. So, what's your take on that?
My take is rather broad. Women for for since the dawn of time have been workers. They've been working. It's just
Yeah,
that they've not been working in industries, right?
yeah,
And industries are fairly recent. The industrial revolution is fairly recent. It's not something that happened ancient years ago.
yeah,
Um, so women used to be gardeners, women were involved in farming, women were involved in making clothes, women were involved in all kinds of work. But
yeah,
their work was mainly pertaining to the family. The
yeah,
men would go out hunting, all that physical work. But everyone worked. The women and the men worked. It's just that they worked in different roles. Then when technology came through, and then women still worked, but the issue is they didn't work at the top positions. They worked as secretaries, they worked as script writers, all those jobs that were desk jobs but were not as important, right? They
yeah,
worked as midwives, they worked as nurses. Women worked.
yeah. But
That's so
there's
the only
sorry.
difference is
Let
the
me let
only
me.
difference is men didn't allow women in positions of influence, of power and
Oh, okay.
influence, the the head of a hospital, the head of a school, all those things. So it was a matter of power, influential jobs, not necessarily jobs in general. Women worked for. Don't let anyone lie to you and say women never work. Women used to work. And another issue is some jobs were only reserved for men because men could be relied on to be productive every day of the week
Yeah,
or every day of the month, while women in the past weren't reliable at the time. Why? Because we didn't have things like pads or anything like that. So when women were on their periods, they would have to stay home.
yeah.
And the beliefs associated with those things to say when a woman is on a period, she's unclean and so forth, all those beliefs that people had. So those things prevented women from actually engaging in work on particular days of the month. And
All right.
women, on the other hand, also could fall pregnant. When they are pregnant, it means they have to be off work to nurture and take care of their pregnancies. Those are the reasons why women were not allowed in certain jobs. But when things like the pill came, that allowed women to delay things like pregnancy or to manage how they get pregnant. to avoid messing up their job schedules. We could say that has not 100% worked, but for the most part, women have been able to manage their
Yeah.
pregnancies and how that affects their work. So those were the issues that actually made it undesirable in the past for companies to hire women.
All right. Ane,
Yeah. So
I see.
so history has no blank pages. People should not assume that no, some men woke up one day and decided, oh no, we don't want women to work. No, 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 no. It didn't work like that. There were gender
Uh,
roles that were clearly defined and things that were expected of men and of women. And culturally, men were expected to be the provider. So women didn't bother to fight for that. The only problem with men over time is that because they're the ones who had the financial means, who had the power, they abused their responsibilities.
yeah.
So the early 60s and the 70s, early 40s, 50s, and the 60s feminists didn't necessarily rise up because everything, or they were just maybe, let's say, jealous or bitter of men, occupying powerful positions.
Yeah.
Men were abusing their responsibilities or their power as men
Yeah.
over women. So that is why women started to fight to have work so that they could have financial independence. If you are married to someone and that particular person doesn't work and you are a very violent individual, it's not
Yeah.
easy for them to leave you alone with the kids and go and live somewhere else because you are the sole breadwinner. But if she works and you work, if you beat her up, she can easily go away from you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I
So
hear you.
economic power translated into social power, and that social power became destructive. So that's why some women fought hard for this right to be able to work and to earn good money, to be able to afford the house, to be able to afford an apartment. Because in the past, women were not allowed to own property. Property was only something that was for men.
Yeah.
You get
Ane.
what I'm trying to say? So,
Yeah, I
so
understand.
a lot of early wave or a lot of what I call early wave feminism was not necessarily a bad thing. It was in response to what I call an unjust system.
Yeah.
Whenever a system is unjust, eventually people will rise up to fight against it so that they can try to make it more just. There are
Yeah.
no gaps in history, and things do not just happen, Jay. Nature dictates what happens, and when people get out of line, then someone rises up against that particular system that is put in place so that it can be made better.
Yeah. Yeah. Ne. Ah, I see now. No, 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 no. No, now my eyes are open. So I have one last question because you mentioned that contraceptives, the sanitary pads, these things have made it possible for women to join the workplace without being a
Yes.
liability. So now, my last question is,
Um,
you mentioned also Christianity. So I want to know since you understand how medical technology has made lives better for women. How do you feel about things such as surrogates? Let's say a woman uh, is at the work and she wants to have kids, but she realizes the possible negative consequences of having a kid while still working, uh, while working. So she decides to go to, I want to get a surrogate to have my child for me. So, what's your take on the surrogacy? I mean, from a religious perspective, also considering the corporate consequences for a woman of for having a child.
um, there isn't a verse that I can quote and say this verse speaks about surrogacy. It's a
Yeah,
fairly new concept.
yeah,
Um, but a form of surrogacy was there in the past when you could have so in the past what you had is like you had the wife,
yeah,
especially in a very rich or influential home, you had a wife and a husband, and
yeah,
both of them had servants. The guy had male servants and the woman had female servants.
yeah,
So if the woman, for example, could not have a child, She could direct her husband to sleep with one of her female servants so that she
Yeah,
could bear her a child. And
yeah,
that child will belong to the wife, basically.
yeah,
So it's what you would call surrogacy today, but in a
yeah,
different form, right?
yeah,
Um, it was a way of human beings trying to sort out issues like infertility and so forth, right?
yeah,
But it was not used in the way you are pointing to, whereby someone is saying it's not good for her to fall pregnant, and then someone else must take that load from them.
yeah,
I'm not sure about the ethicality of such a decision personally, right?
yeah,
Um, but also at the end of the day, as a Christian, I believe that kids have to be brought up in a home environment. In other words, we don't need a third person to go to make things complex. What
yeah,
I've learned over time is that these surrogacy processes are usually very complex. At the end of the day, the mother can decide that, I'm taking this baby. She's
yeah.
mine. What are we going to do? You know what I'm trying to say? Um, in trying to come up with solutions, as human beings, we have come up with solutions that create more problems. At the end
Okay.
of 9 months, your surrogate can just decide, no, I no longer want to give you this child. I have bonded with this child. I want to raise them.
Yeah,
You can,
but wait, let
I
me
mean,
stop you there. Let me
I'm
stop
not
you
sure
there.
if you can.
Let me stop you there, Edagi. But I thought today's surrogacy, it's possible to like take out your own egg and your husband's egg and then put them inside another woman. I thought that's possible. So that means even if you're the one who carried the baby, biologically it's not yours. So how would you say, hey, I changed my mind, I want this baby? It's not yours, Mos.
It's not yours, but how? I mean, what laws do we have that govern surrogacy? For example, in South Africa, do we have laws that govern surrogacy and say, well, if this thing happens, this is what happens? Because I do not think that our jurisprudence has evolved, at least here in the developing countries, has evolved that far.
Okay. Oh, okay. So,
And and
but
and
personally, I don't
sometimes
think.
and sometimes and in most cases, surrogacy happens whereby they use the surrogate mother's egg, just a different sperm.
Yeah, that
It's
happens.
very
Yeah.
rare where I've heard that they just take the egg of the other woman and implant it in the other woman and take the sperm and implant it in the other woman.
Well, I heard the story. Saw Kim Kardashian. Apparently, like it's her kids. She used the surrogate. It's her kids biologically.
But that's very rare, and I'm sure it's probably
Yeah, it's
expensive.
rare.
And
Yeah,
you
better
probably have
because
to,
they are rebel.
yeah, it's
Those people
very
are
rare.
billionaires, man.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not a problem of a common man, my guy. But what I'm trying to say is, I mean, if you wanna be a mother so much, why not carry your own kids? Why
Career,
expect other people to carry your
career,
kids?
career wise, I'm a model. If I
Uh,
go into parenting, my belly will be messed up. I will get calves. I will
can the
get
father
bigger
provide?
boobs.
Can the father provide while you get pregnant?
No, the pregnancy has consequences on the body. If you are a skinny model, you might fear Guti. Being a parent might maybe I could say grow your boobs, grow your calves, whatever, or ruin your flat stomach.
But that's temporary, Mus.
Okay, work,
Why?
you might
Why?
lose your job in the corporate world because now you become unreliable. Like you said, in the past, that was a problem. So you are afraid to go to
Yeah,
okay,
but now there are protections. But now there are protections in corporate if you fall pregnant. So
yeah,
why
they
would you want
exist,
to
yeah.
do that to yourself?
Yeah, I guess yeah,
Why
today
would
there
you
are
want to do
laws
that?
that protect you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I would understand some things if there's like there are serious problems. And even this thing of having a body that is botched after pregnant, they have so much money that they have access to very, very, very skilled doctors who can always do tummy tucks, who can remove all these marks and so forth that you are talking about. So why necessarily do you want another woman to carry your child if you can carry your child?
yeah.
I would understand if you say you're infertile, you want someone to carry your child. I'm not sure about that one, but that one seems more reasonable. But I'm saying if you have the ability to carry your own child. Why not?
I guess genetical engineering is obviously, yeah, it's out of the question. If I ask you about
I
genetical
know.
engineering, you're gonna say no, 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 no. Even if I say
Yeah,
the
no,
world
genetic.
needs
I
more,
know.
well, we need more Nikola Teslas, we need more Albert Einsteins. If we have the opportunity to reproduce those guys, why not take it? It's good for the world, is it not?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Every time human beings have tried to do things outside of nature, it backfired badly. It always backfires. It
Yeah.
always backfires. I'm telling you. There is one. So in the world, the way the world is so smartly created, it has checks and balances, and nature is one of those checks and balances.
Yeah.
If things are done, um, if people go move, try to surpass, or I don't know, not surpass, but to defy the laws of nature, it always backfires.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as much as it might sound smart, it might sound cool, oh, I want a kid. I've heard there's this technology now that they want to try whereby you can have a kid who has the genes of two mothers or two fathers only.
Yeah.
You don't need even an egg and a sperm
Yeah.
to basically you are cloning human beings. You want to clone
Yeah.
human beings.
Yeah.
I'm not
Ne.
sure how that's gonna work out.
Yeah, ne, obviously I knew this one your was gonna be a no-no for you. But anyway, we've reached the end of the today's episode. Yeah, I think you clarified everything, and I think it was very educational. Now on my side personally, yeah, I read a lot. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us. Until next time, bye bye. Shap shap.
Bye.